born in Cuba, 1960, give or take a couple of years. And my father was an orchestra musician, and my mother was a seamstress. Then there were two brothers, Paquito de Rivera and Enrique. My father taught my brother his instrument. He plays the saxophone. So art was always in my family, whether it was music, art, culture. Culture was always everywhere in my home. I remember many parties, mostly musical parties, since my father was in the music industry. So my love of art comes from that. My father tried to teach me music, but I think one musical genius in the family is quite enough. So I kind of veered off to a love of art. So fast forward, 7 years old, the political situation in Cuba was just getting worse and worse. So my mother and father decided in 1968 that we would defect to the United States. My brothers, being of military age, were not allowed out. So my mother and father came to the decision that my mother would come here with me and my father would stay in Cuba with my two older brothers, because they were of military age, serving in the military in Cuba. So in 1968 we left Cuba towards Spain. We lived in Spain for about 6 to 8 months, and then from Spain we came here to the United States, and we lived with some friends in the Bronx for a few months, and then my mother, got a job, and that kind of situation, which many of us Cubans have gone through, along with a lot of other, people that have come here. It was not easy. However, my mother always instilled in me the love of art. I think a lot of my passion for art comes from that time, and it's developed. What I was drawing back maybe in the 70s or 80s is not the same of what I'm doing now. It's changed completely, and I owe that to to my mother, and also my father. And then in I think it was 1973, my father came over. The separation of family really took its toll on him, and he was not the same person. The separation of my coming over here with my mother and them staying over there was just pretty devastating to him. And when he came over, it was really a bad culture shock for him, because he was a musician who was used to selling his instrument and, being surrounded by friends and the musical community in Cuba, during the good old days. And coming here it was very much a culture shock for him. And he just never really adapted. When my brothers came over, fast forward to 1981, the Mariel boat lift happened, and one of my brothers, Enrique, went to the Peruvian embassy, like many Cubans who exiled over on the Mariel boat lift. And at the same time, my other brother, Paquito, who was at that time a very big musician in Cuba, was traveling to, I think it was Switzerland, or I don't know, somewhere in Europe, and he defected in Spain. So it was a great Mother's Day present for my mom, because it happened on Mother's Day. So, one day we get a call from Enrique in Florida. Hey, I'm in Florida. And that afternoon, we get a call from Paquito. Hey, guess what? I just defected and I'm in Spain. So my mother had a little bit of a nervous breakdown during that time. But she did what any mother would do. And she was debating on, do I go to Florida or do I go to Spain? So I went to Florida and she went to Spain, and that's how the family kind of got united again. Cuban American or American Cuban? Well, this is the way I look at it. Because I have thought about this many times. I am an American citizen. God bless America. However, I was born in Cuba, which makes me a Cuban American. My thinking. I think if I would have been born here, of Cuban descent, then I think I would probably consider myself an American Cuban. That's just my line of thinking. But again, I am Cuban American. My artistic process actually starts not so much putting down an idea as waiting for an idea to come to me. I truly believe, I'm very spiritual, and I truly believe that a lot of my work shows that. I see what develops after I start a piece, and I'm amazed at the end result. I really don't do anything on purpose. I just, I ask for clarity when I start a piece, and I ask for higher power to guide my hands into creating something that's going to be beautiful. So it gives me peace. It gives me peace within, and I think it shows in my work. I don't, like I said, I don't start out saying, "Oh, I'm gonna draw a butterfly today," and and I do it. What I do is I have my paper and pencil, and I just kind of start sketching out nothing, and eventually that nothing that I think is nothing really just turns into something. For instance, I was just working on the latest piece that for this We Are You show, and I came across the idea that I had two flags. There's two flags. There's a Cuban flag and an American flag. And the question that came up was, is it the same blue as in both flags? So I went to the computer. I printed something out, and I had two different blues. So I went to the computer and looked out at it on screen. A bunch of American flags, a bunch of Cuban flags, and I came to the realization that they could be the same blue. It's funny. The more I look at this piece, the more I haven't really, you could say, studied it much. I think I do that after the piece is done. But just taking a look, I look at it and I see one thing. I look at it again, I see something else. But all in all, I see the sexiness of it, the sexiness of the movement of women, the coming together of the two flags. Right here in the middle symbolizes two hands, actually two fingers touching. And that's exactly where your eye should take you to. And right there is where the Cuban American thing meets. Right now, it's just brewing, when a pot style starts to bubble. So it catches your attention, and you really look at it, and you want to figure out what it is, what's in it, what's there. So keep thinking, because you're going to see it a little later on, and you're going to really then say, wow, look at that womb, wow, look at that flower. All of it is good. All of it is passionate. All of it is exactly what you see is exactly what it is. Don't question it. Enjoy it. Feel it. Love it. That's what it's about. Sexuality, sensuality, patriotism, the fluidity of bodies, breasts, the Cuban figure with the baboon. So it's all there. It's all there.